along the interior as well. You're looking to see who can step up. Anthony Cooper is returning. He was banged up for, oh my God, pretty much all of last season. Felt like he missed time consistently. But there was one guy who was able to stay on the field, one guy who was able to really show up as a freshman. I'm sure you guys have figured out who I'm talking about by now. And if you don't, let me fill you in on the darling of the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, CJ Fight. CJ Fight's a beast, dude. This is your true nose tackle, but he plays so much better than his size. At 6'2", 315, yeah, he's a big boy. He's going to eat all sorts of gaps and all sorts of space. He's going to take on double teams, and he's going to make life a lot easier for the linebackers and keep their jerseys clean. But he's explosive. We saw this all the time last year. And it was also really evident to us who were able to go to training camp, who were able to see him in action during practices. You saw how intelligent he was. You saw how disruptive he could be. He really did stand out amongst, like 3-year guys. Like, you were saying Deshaun Mallory looked like a beast, and then right next to him was CJ Fight. And then he plugged him into the same defense, and suddenly what was a horrific run defense became respectable. And part of that was because of CJ Fight. A large part of that was because of CJ Fight. You had a guy who understood what it took to have gap integrity, to be able to take on multiple blocks. Sure, didn't get a sack last year. Sure, only 15 total tackles. Whatever. End of the day, this dude was just finding a way to create an easier environment for the guys around him. He's coming back this year as a true sophomore after getting significant playing time last year, and he worked his way out there. He really did. Like, sure, injuries were really bad, but it got to a point where you could not come up with very good reasons to keep CJ Fight off the field, and that's going to be the case again this year. Fight is one of the most experienced guys coming back. He's a true sophomore. He is a true sophomore. He's got some of the most experience playing along the interior. Anthony Cooper's back. He's played all over the place. He missed a ton of time last year. I am excited for Anthony Cooper to be back with the versatility to play inside and outside, but CJ Fight, man, this is the guy who's going to make life easier for everybody else. And look, we just talked about how Clayton Smith and Prince Dorbaugh create bookend edge rushers for you, and they create really dynamic pass rushing combos. Well, another thing that's going to help them is CJ Fight's going to be facing double teams, which means those guys are going to be having one-on-one opportunities. And if they take the next steps forward that I believe they can, then, man, your defensive line just became a huge strength for you. And it was pretty darn good last year, too. But you're looking at a little bit more youth now because Fight is a true sophomore, because Clayton Smith is a redshirt junior. I think Dorbaugh has another year of eligibility. He's a senior. I'm pretty sure he has one more year. I might be wrong. They are looking at a scenario right now where they are going to be able to make life very, very difficult for everybody that they go up against. And the defensive line is going to make life easier for the guys behind them, for the guys that are, what's the term I'm looking for? They're going to make life easier for the linebackers and for the secondary, because when you have that pass rush, you're going to force quarterbacks into really bad decisions and really bad throws and whatnot, and that's where your secondary capitalizes. We'll talk about the secondary here in just a second, but rounding out my conversation here with CJ Fight, dude's a beast. I don't know if he's going to be a big sack guy. I don't know if he's going to be a big tackles person. He had 15 last year in basically a starting role. He might be around that. He might be closer to what Deshaun Mallory did last year with around 50-ish tackles. Mallory had 48 for himself. Maybe CJ Fight becomes that kind of player, and he might need to be, honestly, because there's not a ton of proven depth along the interior. But even if he doesn't, as long as he does what he did last year, he's going to be pivotal to the success. Personally, I do think he's going to take a step forward. I do think that CJ Fight is going to become a dominant interior player for the team. He looked really good last year. And to me, there's no reason that he won't be able to take that step forward this year. He's a beast. He's a stud. He's one of the most obvious guys for me. There's a couple more guys